It's all about passion, it's all about change. It's all inclusive every day of the week. When the world comes together, united as one, sharing stories through the eyes of View TV.
Hello everyone and welcome back to What Matters. I'm Jojo.
And I'm Jess.
And we are back with wonderful guests. Can you believe it, babe? It's the 24th of August? November? Ah, God knows. I have lost count. Don't even know what day, month or year it is.
Oh, geez, we're going to put up the Christmas tree soon.
To put all our presents under there, babe.
I better go and buy you a present.
What, those presents over there aren't for me?
No, not one.
What do you know? They're all for the kids that we don't have. But anyways, we're not here to talk about Christmas. We're here to talk about the US election tonight. So, which is a big one. I know it's been a big topic. I guess the election took place. It started a few weeks ago, and we're still counting votes.
Oh, we're still counting votes. We're still doing lawsuits, going to the Supreme Court, and a lot of things are unraveling. And that's why we brought Joel Jammal on tonight, so he can enlighten our viewers and enlighten us a little bit more about what's going on over there. Because we all know that what goes down in America effectively affects the rest of us here. Especially Australia.
Oh yeah, And if you don't, if you don't see that, then you've got a lot coming. But anyways, hopefully tonight we can enlighten you. Hopefully tonight we can also learn a little bit more, because I guess for us, a lot of the guests that we get on are guests that we can also, the topics that we talk about are things that we can hopefully also learn more about, because we aren't the experts. So we hope that we might learn a little bit, and you might too tonight. So we are streaming live from InView TV to Facebook to YouTube to OvoPlay and to a few different Facebook pages. But if you want to get involved in the conversation, head over to the What Matters Facebook page, find the live stream, let us know where you're tuning in from. And also, if you can, go ahead, share a little watch party, let your friends know that you're joining us.
Whether they're a Trumpy or a Biden, you got to tune in tonight. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely. But look, before we do get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we are sitting right now and all over the world, I guess, and pay respect to the elders past, present and emerging of all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander nations. So now I'm so excited to bring on Joel Jammal. So Joel Jammal is a 23-year-old part-time political commentator and lecturer for the Sydney Institute for Christian Studies. When he isn't performing political parties, he works as an assistant director, manager for a developer in Western Sydney. Joel writes for the Spectator and the Canberra Declaration, while also producing his conversations series called Thin Ice, where he treads on the latest political landmines. In addition, he runs a weekly podcast called The Arc with Riccardo Bosi, which is amazing, guys. You need to check it out, which racked up to 2 million views in the first 12 weeks completely from scratch. Now, we are so excited to bring Joel on. We are going to be speaking about the US election. So is it going to be Biden or Trump? We don't know. So let's bring on Joel and get the conversation started.
Election day turns into election month. Pauline Hanson takes a swing at the Great Reset, and Scott Morrison considers a travel bubble with China. That's right. This is The Arc with Riccardo Bosi. Riccardo, welcome to the show again.
Thanks, Joel. Good to be here as usual.
I want to get this massive elephant out of the way, the US election. We had a chat last week about the debacle that it was. When I was setting up the show, I was frantically looking at the latest information. Riccardo was very patient with me. And we were looking at which states Trump was contesting, which states there was fraud, and which states had gone either way. He's going to need some of that Trump luck. Like, of all the times, now is the time. What do you think, Rick?
I think he's going to win.
Okay.
I think he's going to win the court cases. And not just win the court cases, he's going to demonstrate the utter corruption of the entire system. There is no way that a man that barely turned up received more votes in American history than anybody else, because that's the line. Then the left will go crazy.
Yeah.
Then the coup d'etat will be attempted. And then there will be violence leading up to and potentially even including the inauguration.
Yeah.
but then it'll settle down, and then we can watch the parade of depraved individuals, the deep state, as Trump lines them up, puts them in orange jumpsuits, and the next 4 years will just be this wonderful spectacle of these people being locked up. And I hope there's some splashback in Oz, because the connections between Australia's deep state and the US's deep state is there, and the Australian people will see that too.
I don't think people understand the gravity of this situation. Isn't it suspicious that on election night, Trump was winning pretty much all of these states? There were 5 of these 6 states on election night, overwhelmingly. I mean, Trump had a 700,000, vote lead in Pennsylvania, for example. Yet all of these swing states said, "Stop the votes. We need to wait."
And it was only the swing states.
Only the swing states.
The hard red and the hard blue states, they got their counts done in time. But where it was critical for Biden to win all of a sudden, and one included even a water leak, and people were demanding the pictures, show us the water. Of course there were none. And the next day you finished the story.
Well, the next day it's just they were like, "Oh, we found all these votes," and they just sort of arrived, and we've got signed affidavits. We've got 234 pages for one state of signed affidavits from people saying, a bunch of different allegations, basically, but they've signed affidavits. They're committed to this. All of this will come out in these court hearings that happen, and Donald Trump and his lawyer team, including Rudy Giuliani, who was the former mayor of New York, he actually dismantled the mafia. A lot of people don't know this. They underestimate him. It's going to all come out, and it'll be very entertaining. This week, we saw, to her credit, Pauline Hanson challenge the Great Reset. And unfortunately, only 2 senators, the other one being a One Nation senator as well as Pauline, only 2 senators voted to oppose the Great Reset. Now, kudos to Pauline for bringing this up, but even if you got in, not even a senator was taken seriously on this. Where do we go from here?
You have been warned, ladies and gentlemen of Australia, you have been warned that every party, bar One Nation, in the federal Senate is in favour of the Great Reset. And if you haven't Googled it, Google it, watch it, and be horrified.
Oh, welcome.
Welcome, Joel. Thanks for coming here tonight.
That was a great
It's a pleasure to be here. It's so weird watching myself on screen and being on this end of the interview.
Hey, it was a great interview. We watched that ourselves personally, and oh man, there's so much unraveling around the world right now, and to have you and Riccardo sitting down and discussing what's really important and what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a big eye opener, and it's awakening a lot of people. But yeah, like what you guys do, it's the information. We're getting the information out there, and this is why we produce What Matters. It's so we can bring on people like you who are for the people, and come and enlighten or educate us at the same time.
And we're not owned by the left media. We're not paid off to tell a story or a narrative. But look, I guess you're 23 years old. What on God's name got you? Why did you get into politics, and what led you to become a political commentator? And we said we wanted to talk politics, and a few people said you got to get Joel, and we're like, oh, we love Joel, so thank you so much. But yeah, tell us more.
Yeah, sure. Well, it started about 5 years ago. I was following the US politics with the US, and I was following it from more of a progressive angle. I found it very fascinating to see how the world was sort of galvanized by their election and the importance of it. But the difference was, I was actually following from the progressive side. I was a big Bernie Sanders follower. For those of you that don't know who Bernie Sanders is, he's a big socialist. And it was really interesting having a chat with a bunch of people about US politics. It was fascinating following the Young Turks in 2016, and I followed all of their coverage. And so I always knew that the world was watching, but it was only a matter of time before I realized that Bernie Sanders would be stabbed in the back and by Hillary Clinton, the corporate Democrats. The socialists would be betrayed, and as a result, Donald Trump won the election. And I was devastated on election night. I was one of those liberals. I wasn't screaming to the sky, but I was very upset. And it was a big learning experience for me. And in mid-2017, I sort of followed US politics, just sort of teetered along. I bought into Russiagate a little bit. And then I had a bit of a red pill moment where I realized that I've got this completely wrong on Donald Trump. It turns out he's actually an all right dude, and there's a lot of stuff that have been lied. There are a lot of lies about the guy.
Yes. You and me as well.
Exactly. And the frustration with that is...
Eat my words a lot of times, yeah.
Yeah, it can be really frustrating, can't it? Because you feel like, the media, they keep lying to your face, and they keep making you think that you're crazy. We call this gaslighting. And they keep saying, no, there's Trump only paid $750 in his tax. And it's like, well, no, he actually paid $4.2 billion in his tax, and you wrote that in your article, New York Times. People don't know that, but people don't read past the headline, and so it's sort of our job as the alternative media to make sure that they read just a little bit past the headline. And so I'm a conservative now. I've been a conservative since 2017. Why did I start political commentary? Well, I lost my job recently in property development in earlier this year in August, and I just thought, okay, I've been following politics for a while now. You're going to take my job. I'm going to make sure people know what's happening in your job. And be under no illusions, I'm not going away. I back a number of different parties. A lot of people associate me with Australia One, Riccardo Bosi's party that is spearheading. But I'm an individualist. I back individuals. Joel Fitzgibbons, he was recently kicked off the front bench. He resigned off the front bench from the Labor Party. That was devastating, because this was a guy that brought sanity to the Labor Party, especially on Greens policy. And to see an individual like that go, I was torn up. So I'm an individualist. One Nation's doing some great stuff. There are some Liberal senators doing a great job, like Conchetta Fierravanti-Wells. But at the end of the day, I'm here to sort of give the mic to politicians I think are doing a great job, and also shine a light on maybe the politicians that aren't doing a great job. And thankfully, as you introduced in the introduction, thankfully the views from my Thin Ice podcast and my conversations with Riccardo Bosi, they've been going really well. And we just cracked 2 million views today, actually, right on time.
Wow, congratulations on that.
Thank
you. Tell us a little bit more. So what's going on in America right now? We have the, the allegations of voter fraud and that all unfolding, and now it's been taken to, I believe, the Supreme Court. How do you see things going for the Trump campaign from here?
Well, look, all things being the same, right now Donald Trump's going to lose the election. That's the reality of it. He hasn't actually secured the electoral college votes that he needs. Joe Biden isn't the president-elect, but he's the prospected president-elect. Nothing's really changed at this stage. We see all these graphs. You saw in that video, you would see the graph of the, I think it was 290 electoral college votes to Trump's 236 or something, and you need 270 votes to win. Well, all these maps that are put out by the media, they're showing Biden already won. The media doesn't call the election. They just put their opinion out. That's like your opinion, man. We've got a situation where the electoral college is not called by the media. Technically, if you want to get technical, technically, Joe Biden has only got 36 electoral college votes, and Donald Trump has got 74 electoral college votes that have been certified by the states. Because what happens is, you get all the votes that come in, the votes get reviewed, you have your legal challenges, and then the votes get certified by the states. And that's how the process happens. But the media likes to jump to conclusions. In the age of technology, people are very impatient. And look, that's just the reality of what it is. But it's not over technically for Trump. I'm more than happy to give this closure when it's time, but it's technically not over. Trump still has a few cards up his sleeve, one of which being SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, and a lot of these law cases that are being put before these courts on a state level and a federal level. There's a lot of losses we're seeing. I think there was something like 25 lawsuits that have been dismissed by judges.
Yeah.
Those aren't Trump's. Yeah. Those aren't Trump's lawsuits. He's only got 3 going right now. He's not. They're other people's, because anyone else can do a lawsuit as well. So they're not actually his lawsuits. He has had lawsuit losses. I think there was one in Pennsylvania this week. But if he has a loss, then that gives him an excuse to elevate it to the Supreme Court. A lot of people are forgetting that, and we haven't had that yet. Yeah, so he's filed one to the Supreme Court. Yeah, it kind of works.
There's advantage, even if Pennsylvania have declined his lawsuit there, it then moves up, which is probably where they want to go. He's got like one of the best attorneys, so I've heard.
Yeah, Sidney Powell.
And they're unraveling a whole heap of rubbish right now, and it's not just pointing out, voter fraud in America. It's actually pointing out voter fraud to every other country that's using this Dominion system. Which is scary.
Yeah, it is. It's very scary, and I mean, everyone. We should always have more transparency with these voting machines, and I'm a bit concerned about Dominion, because I think they're here. They might be here in Australia actually, but I'd have to check on that. There's a lot of things that are being said online right now, and they all have to be validated and checked. Sidney Powell, I didn't know much about her. I knew more about Rudy Giuliani, Trump's lawyer. But Sidney Powell's not actually a part of the legal team for Trump. She's actually a lawyer that can do this on her own basis. She just happens to be at some of these press conferences with the Trump team. That's all it happens to be. I'd warn a lot of people to be careful into listening to Sidney Powell too much. I wish everything she's saying is true, but we saw this week Donald Trump come out with a statement. I don't know if it was him or if it was his campaign, saying Sidney Powell's not actually part of the Trump campaign law team. She's actually doing this of her own volition, and there's some things that she's putting out there that may not be provable in court, and that's a valid point. That she's made a ton of claims. She's made a claim about I think it was the Pennsylvania governor or the governor of another state that has links to Dominion, and those are some serious claims, and we're yet to see evidence, and if the evidence comes out in court, great, but at this stage we're still yet to see evidence, guys. And so I guess my worry is this, and I haven't really talked about this much. I haven't talked about this on the show yet, but my worry is that the people on our side, on the side of common sense and of free and fair elections, a lot of us Trump supporters, they're falling into the trap of the Russiagate people. And for those of you that don't know Russiagate, it was when the Trump campaign had Hillary Clinton and the Democratic establishment come after him, and all the intelligence agencies, the FBI, CIA, Comey, all come after him and say he's colluding with Russia, Putin made him the president, this and that. It's funny how Russia forgot about this year's election. Isn't that funny? So we've got a situation where Trump supporters might be falling into the same trap. Trump supporters might be saying, fraud here, fraud there. I'm worried that there might not be as much fraud as we might think. And Trump did truly lose this, and there was a little bit of fraud that we don't have time to prove. But the biggest thing we've got to look out for is electoral impropriety. It's a different category. It's not fraud. It's something completely different. Fraud is where you maliciously go out and go and try and change these ballots. Electoral impropriety is a situation like in Michigan, we've got 70% of the books that don't add up. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. It means that in 70% of the counties, the number of people registered to vote and that said they voted doesn't line up with the amount of votes that they got. That's a lot. Yeah. That's widespread. That's concrete.
Yeah. Those that are
it's crazy. And Exactly, and it's very troubling because we knew this was going to be a problem, especially with the mail-in ballots. I'd been saying it for months. In fact, when I was still at my job, that long ago, I know, that long ago, 4 months ago, I wrote this article called "From Election Day to Election Month," and
Yep.
from election month to election quarter. I knew it was going to take this. I knew it was going to take this long, and unfortunately, it might turn into election quarter. And at the end of the article, I ended up saying this could kick off a civil war, guys. This is some high stakes.
Yeah.
If you have 75 million people on one side and 70 million people on the other side saying that they don't agree with how this election result went, something's going to happen unless one of the candidates concedes. And Trump is not conceding yet, but we'll see.
And it doesn't make sense, you know. I mean, we followed both sides. We followed Biden. We followed his non-existent rallies. I mean, we know he was hiding in his basement. There was 5 people attending his rallies, and you look at Trump's rallies,
and there were millions of people,
millions and millions.
And there's still millions of people out there supporting him now, and that's what I don't get. If Biden got all these supposed millions of votes, where were his supporters at his rallies? Because
they were also hiding in the
I'm quite
basements.
the observer, and I like to stalk both sides and see what they're both up to and who's pointing the finger at what. They all both contradict themselves, in my opinion. But the one thing that stood out for me was I could not find a decent-sized rally, at least 1 or 2, that matched Trump's.
Yeah.
And for me, that was enough to say, hang on, these votes.
Doesn't make sense.
I need to question these votes because that did not make sense at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
And so I guess, you know, in your intro, you did speak a little bit about the Great Reset, and kudos to Pauline Hanson talking about it. But do you think that the US election has a lot to do with the Great Reset?
I think that if we're speaking plainly here, I've said that every event that's happened this year has either been because of or made worse because of the US election. This is the year. This is the plague year. You know, I made a summary of the events of 2020, and I put a trailer. I called it the trailer for 2020. I did it to a big song called "O Fortuna," a massive song. And I wanted to summarize all the events that have happened this year and how they actually connect to what's happened. And it's been a crazy year, guys. It's been a crazy year. You think that they were writing for 3 months for Black Lives Matter? Do you think that's what was happening?
Yeah,
No.
look,
No.
I'm an Indigenous myself, and I've always protested for Indigenous and Black lives, and our asses have been out there protesting since I can remember, and not once in my life have I ever seen the media give us that much attention. I'll guarantee you that not once have I ever seen the media give Black lives, Indigenous lives, anyone's lives that much attention. So I knew for a fact that there was more behind what went on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think I kept saying to people throughout the year, because you notice when you follow politics with an open mind and you look at around the world, you pick up patterns, and that's what this game is. And I was picking up a pattern this year. I said, it's not that a school got shot up. It's not that, you know, coronavirus is a thing. It's not that Black Lives Matter. It's not that any of these things. It just happens to be the next thing they can use to bash Trump with. Trump is an entity for the deplorables of America. That's how they see him. They see him as the sort of the tip of the spear they can attack, the face that they can attack. And the funny thing is that once he's gone, they exactly. And once he's gone, the funny thing is it's going to be that they won't have him to attack anymore because he's not in power.
Yeah.
Hashtag resist. Hashtag resist doesn't count. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They see him as a threat, and that's got to make you question a lot of things. If they're seeing this one man who, after eating my own words 4 years ago, after doing some research away from mainstream television and actually educating myself instead of listening to nonsense headlines, I realised he wasn't the bad guy or the villain that he was made out to be in the media. So for the media to continuously bash him and continuously put out false claims and accusations out there against this one man, you have to question, you know, what is the good that he's doing right now that they don't like, because they're losing control because they've got this one man that's cutting them off every time they want to do something. And it's all, obviously, if you know anything about the system and how the system works, there's global agendas at play and whatnot, and that's why the Great Reset comes into play. But what do you think, Joel? Tell us, how do you see the future if, one, Biden gets elected president as opposed to Trump being elected president?
If Biden gets elected president, it's going to look very similar to that of Obama. Now, no one knows what Obama's term looks like. Let me tell you. He earned himself the nickname Obama because he was the bomber-in-chief. The guy was bombing 13 different countries at the same time. He bombed Syria so much, he ran out of bombs in Syria. That's how much he was bombing it. I'm still waiting for my reparations on that, by the way. And the crazy thing is, he gets a Nobel Peace Prize. And we've got an economy which had a very slow recovery from the GFC of 2007, 2008. Very slow recovery. He didn't cut taxes. The working class, it took them forever to see anything grow. They didn't get any increase in wages. The employment rate was a disaster. Black Lives Matter, the group started under Obama. You had situations where, you had these infamous cases of other black men getting shot up, and you've got a black attorney general in the state, you've got a black governor, you've got a black police commissioner, you've got a black president, you've got a black DOJ. Nothing changes. Why? Because they're the establishment. Well, this is what you're going to see, guys. This is exactly what you're going to see. It's going to get worse. We will, mark my words, Trump right now, he's technically at war with, I think, 8 or 9 countries. It's going to be way more than that under Biden. Yeah. We're not going to see troop withdrawals. We're going to see an increase in wars around the world. And I only bring that up first because it concerns Australia. The economy is a massive one because when America sneezes, Australia gets a cold. Damn it! Like in 2008, 2009, how many of our parents lost, super or whatever money from the stock market? The economic. We're lucky. Australia technically didn't go into a recession because we got such a strong economy, a resilient economy. But the problem was how many billions of dollars did we see get wiped off the market? I mean, it sent my own parents bankrupt. It was ridiculous. Yeah. They had a massive property portfolio and they were too exposed. And this was all because of a situation with the US housing market. Like, what does that have to do with us? Yet it has a lot to do with us. And we only just woke up to that. Now, in 2008, 2009, I was in year 6. I was a baby. Like, it really made... I get a lot of joy out of that. Don't give me too many opportunities. I enjoy making people feel old. But the crazy thing is, people had a big wake-up call. It turns out that in this economy, in this globe of, where we're all interconnected, where globalism has connected us through the internet, supply chains are all together, markets are all together, we're screwed. If one person gets screwed, we're all screwed, basically. And so now we're in a situation where we've got a president, Donald Trump, who saw the first sort of growth in low to middle income wages in a very long time, in decades actually. The lowest black, Hispanic, and women's unemployment ever.
Well,
Insane.
Been as in the first time the Republicans have taken the reins, as opposed to the Democrats who reigned for the last 3 terms? Is that where the change was made? As in the progress?
You mean in terms of Trump winning his last term?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, look, the Republicans probably could have done a lot more, but it was really Trump that sort of showed them the way through that. It was really Trump that showed them how to fight. They didn't really know how to fight previously. And we really saw that with, particularly a guy like Ted Cruz. He really woke up. He's a senator in the US, and also Senator Lindsey Graham, who earned his name Lindsey Graham 2.0 because he fought so hard for Brett Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court Justice, in 2018 when he was being attacked. And I hope that continues with the Republicans, but I'm not holding my breath while Trump's not there. They need a leader, So, look, we're in a situation where Joe Biden is not very good for the world. You're not going to see Joe Biden holding hands with Kim Jong-un crossing the demilitarization zone. You're not going to see that. You're not going to see Brexit get across the line with the backing of America. You're not going to see America backing Australia when we start poking the giant, China. These aren't things we're going to see happen. And that's the sad reality. And you know what? Maybe we need to go through this for people to see that Donald Trump was onto something. And, you know, if it wasn't for coronavirus, I think he would have won. And yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I could talk about that for a long time. There's a lot of repercussions we're gonna see over the next few years from Joe Biden. And I wish I wasn't on the losing side, but at this stage, it's not looking great, guys.
So what happens between now and January? I think January 20th is when the new president or whatever takes the reins. If Trump did have any chance, you know, even though it's very highly doubt that he could win right now,
I just gotta stop. Why though? If we are saying that the votes that came in, like the amount of people that registered compared to the amount of votes that they received doesn't add up. Is it that there's not enough votes there still for President Trump? Because when I was listening to Sidney Powell, the Dominion program that they use, I guess what happened with that program though is that it's like a drop and delete. So they would basically get all of these votes, drop, drag, and delete into a folder, and then they're gone. So is that where we're at, that they can't actually track all of those votes? Is that because I just still don't understand? Like, if there's too many people, if the numbers don't add up, and I know there's all these affidavits, I'm still being, because I think I see where we're going to go with Biden, and knowing that that's not good. So maybe I'm still in a little bit of denial, and until they've called the shots, I think I'm just going to be hopeful. But I'm still not understanding the numbers and how they don't add up. Don't get it.
Yeah, you've got to take it by state. In Michigan, I gave you the 70% stat. That's just for one aspect. We've also got tens of thousands of dead people that also voted in the US. That's another thing. That needs to be accounted for. We've also got a situation where there are counties which had over 100% of the counties vote. Now, they don't have compulsory voting over there. You know, they don't get 100% of the people voting. Exactly. You know, over here we've got, you know, we've got compulsory voting, yet only like something like 95% of our people vote. Yet over there, the registered people, there's more people voting. So this needs to be answered. So those are three different things. We've also got a situation where there are also people voting in districts that they don't actually live in. I think we saw that in Nevada. We've also got a situation where, you know, a lot of the vote tallies that are being done, they're not checking the signatures. And if you don't check the signatures, that's real fraud. That you know, you have to check the signature. And the Democrats are pushing very hard for that. Look, you're not wrong. And then on top of that, we've got these irregularities like the 6,000 votes we saw in, I think it was Michigan, which ended up flipping a seat for a Republican.
I think because it was like 15,000 votes. It was something like 15,000 votes that flipped, and overnight, before there's that big joke that before they went to bed, President Trump was winning the election, and then when they woke up, it had flipped, and people there was the system glitches and whatever. There's so much evidence there that there is amount of fraud. And I guess it just doesn't make sense. It really does.
No, I know. I totally get it. And if Joe Biden was interested in unity and bringing the country together, he would go and do a full investigation of this after the election. He would, because then he could give peace of mind to the people to say, no, you truly lost. And Donald Trump's, loss, he can't say that it was false. He can't say that, that Joe Biden stole the election, because we did an investigation and we were very thorough, and here's the evidence. And this is where we found fraud. It wasn't enough, but this is all the fraud we found, and that's it. See, we're not going to see that. And I think that's the fear people see. And on top of that, the two parties that went up for election this time around, they're so their policies are so radically different. You know, Donald Trump wants to stay out of the Paris Accord. Joe Biden wants to stay in the Paris Accord. That's not a small commitment. That is massive. Donald Trump wants to be more, militaristic and wants to oppose China more, whereas Joe Biden doesn't. In fact, he's happy to take, on a personal level, his family's happy to take millions of dollars from them. This is a very big problem, guys. And, Joe Biden was... And the funny thing is, I learned all the attacks on Joe Biden from the left when I was a progressive. And that's why I'm just shaking my head. Like, how did the progressives vote for this guy? Because, now you see people like Cenk Uygur, who I used to follow at the Young Turks. I still follow him just to keep track. But when I was a progressive, I followed him heaps with the Young Turks. Now he has switched modes. He's no longer about, okay, we need to get rid of Trump. In his mind, we've gotten rid of Trump. Now we are the anti-establishment progressives. We have to fight Joe Biden. And it's like, guys, you just had to give Trump 4 more years and he was going to finish the establishment off. That way in 2024, you would have had Joe Biden, so you would have had Donald Trump and a progressive or someone else from the Republican side and a progressive, and you could have had a true battle of ideas. But we're not going to see that now. Now you've got to unite in 2024 against the Democratic establishment. Because if you don't think they're going to make sure they fix all of these problems and, cover their tracks with Russiagate and the Durham investigation and all the problems that Hillary Clinton did and Obama did, if you don't think they're going to clean that stuff up, you're being naive, and the progressives are going to learn the hard way with this. But it's not looking good, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
It's really hard, we know how much the election over in America affects us, and when we sit back and watch it and you absorb information from both sides, you can't help but think that they're at war with each other, themselves. They're at war with themselves. And it's like, the continuous, you see it happen every election, every year, every decade. The system continuously divides the people. Yeah. People don't want to be at war. They don't want to see their loved one shot. They don't want to see anyone blowing up. They don't want. They don't want to do that. It's the leaders that continuously do that, not us, not the people. We want peace, and we want unity. But that's why you need the importance of selecting your leader who's going to keep that peace. Is it's a big thing right now, and that's the scary part. Is a lot of us know that. When we've had peace for the last 4 years, thank God. What will happen when that power switches hands to the other side?
What I did find interesting was, as soon as President-elect Biden was announced, that all of a sudden on the TV I saw, the issues with Iran popping up, and I'm like, oh my God, we've had 4 years of peace, 4 years of peace in the Middle East, and we've got President-elect Biden, and all of a sudden we're already talking about issues evolving in Iran. And I just thought that's very coincidental. Is it just not? We go back to the Democrats and we'll be back at war again? I don't know.
Look back to the UK. Look back to the Obama years. What did we see? How did they deal with Iran? Well, they sent pallets of cash to them. That happened. They ended up making sure they had the Iran nuclear deal, which, as Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel said, that doesn't prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon. That paves the way for them to get a nuclear weapon. This is not good. This is not good at all. They won't. I don't know. I don't want to say they're gonna go to war with Iran. There are people like that Donald Trump used to have on his sort of executive or advisor board that said they wanted to actually have a war with Iran, but Donald Trump got rid of them. We might be in a situation where we have a battle with Iran, but that might be started by Joe Biden, or he might take a different strategy and do the appeasement strategy, which paves the way for them to get to to make sure it paves the way to them to get a nuclear weapon.
Interesting. Well, look, Joel, you know what? It's been absolutely amazing having you on. I think we've gone over, but that's what we do here at What Matters.
We loved it. Thank you for the insight tonight. the election is a big thing for they've got everyone.
Yeah.
And it's great to have someone like you who's so young, by the way.
Yeah.
A little political commentator, but so educated about what's going on in the bureaucracy of politics. So thank you so much for coming on to What Matters Tonight and sharing with us your views and your points on the election.
Yeah.
It's been my pleasure, guys. And you know what? Can I just say a big word? Do you guys take donations?
No, we don't. But look, we could work something out.
Honestly, guys, you should, because let me tell you why. I've talked to a number of different people this week in alternative media, and you girls, what you are doing, what you and your team are doing is phenomenally important. We need alternative media, and do not underestimate what you're doing. It is very important. And I'd encourage, once you guys get a donation link on PayPal or whatever, I'd encourage everyone listening to the show to support you, because it is so important. And I know you girls are doing it for love of country and love of our way of life. Yeah. So more power to you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks,
You've
Joel.
made me all teary,
Of
but
course
we're going to take that advice on board.
Okay, yeah. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Your time is valuable too. Don't underestimate it. This is valuable work what you're doing.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, we do this because we love humanity. We love the, greater good. We do this for free. Just like you get on your channels, you do everything for free. And it's to help people and to help educate people and give them alternate news that the mainstream media forget to mention.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, actually, I don't do it for free anymore. Actually, people have found value in it, thankfully, and because I mean, people don't know this. Every year we give $1 billion to the ABC in our taxes. That's what the government takes from us. And so when I say to people, look, I'm putting my channel out there, I'm not continuing this next year, I'm seeing how things go, donate to me. People have been very lovely, and I'm currently employed. I'm currently employed by the people now, which is awesome. And I'm not going to betray that. My contract with them is transparency. My contract with them is transparency, and if I take care of them with information, they'll take care of me, and that's it. So look, more power to you girls. Keep up the good fight, and I'll enjoy watching the show next week as well.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Joel.
We appreciate you.
Awesome.
And I guess we'll watch this space with the US election.
Yes. There's a December 14th. That's when the electors meet together. So patience, guys. Have a coffee. This might take. Just strap in. This might take a little while.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel.
Election.
You have a lovely evening.
No worries. Thank you, girls. Thank you very much.
See ya.
See ya.
Oh, what a lovely young fella. 23 years old. Knows so much about
intelligent.
politics.
Wow.
Kind of inspired me to want to know more. And I guess, you know what, I'm going to stay hopeful. With the election, I think we've still got a long way to go.
I think regardless who wins, as much as people want Trump to win or as much as they want Biden to win, I think they need to get to the bottom of the problem here, which is the voter fraud.
Yeah.
Whether it's been going on for how long and in how many countries, because we know that software is not just used in America, it's used in a lot of other countries and probably here in Australia and New Zealand. I've got to fact check that one, but I've been told. I've been told, it's been used along lots of places. But look, guys, that's it for tonight. We hope you have enjoyed the show. If what we've spoken about resonates with you, please share this show with your viewers. And don't forget to follow Joel if you're into politics and he speaks your language. Follow him on the Arc Media. He has his own channel, and he interviews Riccardo Bosi a lot on his channel, and they speak about. They speak about a lot of stuff, and it's just good that we have someone here in Australia who is actually covering this stuff. So thank you again, Joel. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's us for tonight. Thank you to Envy TV for having us, and to our producer Bruce, who you don't see. He's backstage, always making sure everything goes according to plan. But thank you, Bruce. We appreciate you. And thank you, Joel. And thank you all the viewers who have, tuned in or watched the replay. Send us your feedback. Let us know what you think. Until then, I guess we'll see you next time. Yeah. See ya. Bye. It's all about passion. It's all about change.